So Apple's removing the home button, but is it also removing the virtual home button? Welcome back to Tailosive Tech, and this is the first time I've been filming in the new set. Hope you guys are enjoying it. We're still making some slight adjustments on audio and lighting, but for now, hope you're okay with this for today. Bye-bye green walls. Do not miss that room at all. But I wanted to talk about the iPhone edition. Yes, I'm officially breaking my silence on it. I've been quiet about it for weeks and months because that's all we've been able to talk about, but now the release is so soon, less than a week away. It's like, okay, Drew, just suck it up and talk about it. We're gonna be talking about it. And I wanted to address something that I wasn't able to talk about in my giant iPhone edition video. The reason was I filmed that weeks before it came out, obviously, and I ended up missing a lot of rumors that were announced. One of which was this new idea of how Apple will handle the software in iOS on the new iPhone. And this idea kind of contradicts what a lot of us were thinking about having, you know, the on-display circle as the home button that goes off when you press it, just like a regular home button. Now people are talking about having this big bar on the bottom that you swipe up on, and similar to the iPad with iOS 11, that will let you access a main row of dock for apps, and when you swipe up, you'll activate multitasking as well as Control Center at the same time. This is definitely different, and a lot of people seem to be on board with this idea because I guess it would be faster than the regular multitasking method. But personally, I kind of hope this isn't true. Well, yes, it does seem to have a lot of credibility behind it because the person leaking this information has had a track record of being pretty reliable. But I feel like the idea of removing even the virtual home button so that we don't even use the iPhone the same way anymore, and now we're going back to swiping up to access a dock and maybe long pressing the power button to activate Siri and things like that, I think that's gonna be too complicated of a learning curve. And people that buy the iPhone edition are still gonna be wanting to press the bottom of their phone thinking that's what takes them to their home screen. That's been a very key part of the iPhone as long as it's been around, is that when you press that single button on the front of the phone, you go home, you see all of your apps. I think that's really easy to understand, and we've just gotten so used to that this idea of changing that in the favor of swiping up or whatever to access multitasking and Control Center, which also means that we can no longer have a lock screen that says press home to open. Now I think it would be something like swipe up to open, which will be a bit different, and something drastically will have to take place because of Touch ID no longer being there and now being replaced with Face ID. I'm just very unsure about this, and while I am an Apple sheep, I'm going to buy the iPhone edition regardless. I feel like that the idea of removing that on-screen circle that we've all known and loved both on Android phones and on iPhones, removing that is going to be quite a drastic learning curve. And if all the leaks about this iPhone edition are true, I'm not necessarily sure I'm gonna like that. I might like it later on because of course Apple tests these things and they've experimented with all kinds of things, so they probably know what they're doing, but I really just hope that at least it's an option. I know Apple's not really known for having options, but I would really prefer having the same function that we have on our iPhones now, but it's just part of the display now instead of being separate and being a part of that giant chin. Also think it would kind of be weird on the operating system that wherever you're opening apps or using different programs, we have this giant thin bar at the bottom. I'm not sure that aesthetically that looks as good as just having it clean. And again, I think the fundamental part of having that bottom access to buttons would be changing a lot if you started telling people swipe up all the time, swipe up, swipe up. And there's also some rumors saying that that notch on the top will not be seamless with the OS so that it's black on the side so the notch doesn't stand out. There's more and more leaks claiming that Apple is going to embrace that and highlight the display all the way to those top corners where the time, the Wi-Fi, the Bluetooth, all that stuff will be. I still wish they wouldn't do that, but this is kind of the first time Apple's made a display that looks so irregular, that has this big cutout at the top. But perhaps on future iPhones, when they're maybe smart enough to embed the earpiece underneath the display, embed those sensors underneath the display, removing that notch could be a big step forward for the iPhone later on. Maybe Apple is intentionally trying to get us to be used to that notch at the top so that when it's finally gone, it'll be more significant and we can finally have that clean, pure, symmetrical look on both sides of the iPhone. That way, next year or maybe the year after that, we'll have an iPhone that is truly bezel-less, which of course is, I think, what we all want to see. But perhaps this year they're holding off on that technology so that we have room to improve in the future, because let's be honest, functionally, we are running out of things for our smartphones to do. And I think this year, the year of killing bezels, has proven that this is turning more into a beauty contest. How pretty can the phone look? And if we can get the phone to look pretty, then people are going to buy our stuff. But again, as phones start to look more and more similar with glass backs and increasingly removing bezels, there will come a time where we have 100% screen to body body ratio. And there's absolutely no bezels on all the phones. And when that time comes, aesthetically, it's not going to be the look of the phone that makes or breaks it. It's going to be about the operating system. And in that way, I still think iOS is going to be set for years, because Apple sheep like me, people who enjoy the Apple ecosystem, are enjoying that platform. And the reason we don't buy Galaxy phones, even though they have more features, is because we don't want to deal with that Samsung skin of Android. We want to work with the purely iOS-based model that's part of our greater ecosystem. That's all the Apple sheep grass we love to munch on. So, as I've mentioned, I'm kind of Apple's defense lawyer. If it does happen to be true that they're going through with this little function bar at the bottom where you have to swipe up all the time and accessing the home screen is a bit more of a step than usual, I'm sure I'll test it and I'm sure I'll find out, well, I think this might be better. And while yes, they did that with the dock layout on the iPad still has a physical home button. In fact, it's not even a solid state button. So we still have that option on the iPad, where I think activating this dock mode on the iPhone edition would be drastically more different because there's no physical home button we can go back to. That would be our only option. And I don't think there's gonna be 5-finger gestures on your 5.8-inch display. Wouldn't make much sense. So of course, let me know what you think of this idea of the function bar, or whatever it's gonna be called, at the bottom, replacing the virtual home button. I think it could be a bad idea, and I kind of hope it's not true, but if it is, I'm probably gonna defend it anyway. This is your Apple sheep here, and I will see you in the next one.